Welcome, chosen undead, to a cynically awesome in-depth look. In the in-depth look video series, we're going to take an in-depth look at a game's expansion content to give you guys a better idea of what's in the box and what you can expect if you were to get this for yourself. Because I hate unboxing videos, I wanted to one-up it, and I wanted to give you guys as much information as possible so you can make an informed decision on whether or not you want to include this into your own collection. Today we're going to be looking at an expansion for Dark Souls, the board game. This expansion is the Asylum Demon expansion. This is one in a series of expansions that are known as mega bosses to the game. Now, the generic premise of a mega boss in Dark Souls, the board game, is that once you beat a mini boss and then you beat a main boss, your final challenge would be to beat a mega boss. So it's like an add-on to the very end of one of your Dark Souls, the board game runs. But each Mega Box expansion has its own little gimmicks, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So, here I have the contents of the box itself pulled out of the box. It comes with this double-sided fold-out board, which when folded out is about 25% larger than a single tile in the regular game. It's double-sided, and we'll talk about why that's significant later. And for those of you who are Dark Souls veterans, you might be able to recognize the location on this board. Here we have the Asylum Demon himself. He is a very impressive model, although it did come in two pieces. So for people who are not hobbyists, you may have some trouble getting these pieces to fit as ideally as you might like. It's not as simple as just plugging it in. It requires a little bit of shaving, but otherwise stick some glue and you're fine. Just be ready for that. We have the Asylum Demon's health tracker, his treasure cards, and his stat, behavior cards, and level 4 encounter cards. And then here are some tokens to represent pillars on the map. So how exactly does all this work together? Well, let's open up this book and see how we introduce this into our games. Page 1 is an introduction talking about the Asylum Demon, and a generic introduction as to what this book is. Page 2, here we have the contents. In these Mega Boss boxes, for any cards that have text on it, the box will include all the languages that the game supports, and they will be marked with flags in the bottom right corner. So English, French, German, Italian, and Spanish. I've already removed all the extra cards and thrown them away. Don't need them. But for those of you out there who are wondering what hoops will you have to go through in order to get the cards in your language, you don't have to go through any. You just have to get the one box and it'll have all the languages in there for you. So then we'll turn to this page, and it says the Stray Demon Mega Boss. Now, hold on. Stray Demon Mega Boss? What happened to the Asylum Demon? Well, that's one of the nifty things about the Asylum Demon box. Not only does it give you the Stray Demon Mega Boss, you also get the Asylum Demon Mini Boss, which is actually on the page prior here. It says that you can have the Asylum Demon as a mini boss in your Dark Souls run, and you treat it exactly like any other mini boss, except that instead of fighting on the mini boss tile, you would instead fight on this fold out board. If we were to look at the cards here, we see that there is the Asylum Demon card, and it has the mini boss icon. And it is just like you would expect a mini boss from the regular Dark Souls board game. And he has his own set of behavior cards and works exactly like a normal mini boss. He even has his own heat up cards, and you can tell the difference between the Asylum Demon and the Stray Demon Mega Boss in two ways. The Asylum Demon here has this lovely face, whereas the Stray Demon here has the same face, but more antlers coming out of his head. It's a very minute difference, but the difference is there. If we were to look at these treasure cards, we see that 2 go to the Asylum Demon and 2 go to the Stray Demon. We can take a look at those in just a moment. So, what is the otherwise mechanical difference about the Asylum Demon boss? Mega or otherwise, we see that the Asylum Demon and Stray Demon's ability here is that the Asylum Demon smashes through pillars to deadly effect. It doesn't really give us a whole lot of information. But each Mega Boss, not just the Asylum Demon, has a special mechanic or gimmick, and those are detailed in their respective rulebooks. Here we see the custom game elements that the Asylum Demon brings to the table. He has the Pillar Smasher mechanic and the Wind-Up mechanic. The Pillar Smasher mechanic says this: when you set up the Asylum Demon's board, you place these pillar tokens onto the respective spots on the board. Now you're going to have to excuse this map. For some reason, someone had the bright idea thinking that these pots were okay to put on this board. Yes, it's accurate to the game, but it is deceptively similar to a node, and so it makes this very hard to look at for an extended period of time. But if you can tell the difference, good on you. Now these pillars block movement, and it says whenever the Asylum Demon makes a physical attack that has the area of effect icon, such as this. Here we have a physical attack with the area of effect icon. It says that if there are any pillars within range of the attack, they will be destroyed. And if any characters are within one node of that pillar, they will immediately suffer 1 damage and get the stagger condition. So even if I was right here, and the Asylum Demon does that retreating sweep, he actually would blow up both of these nodes, and the pillars would come crumbling down, and I would get hit because I'm within 1 node of that destroyed pillar. Suffer a damage, and take a stagger token. The pillars break first, and after the pillars break, then you resolve the attack. So if you're attempting to dodge the attack, you'd first get hit by the pillar, that's unavoidable, and then you may attempt to dodge if the attack would hit you otherwise. It's possible for the Asylum Demon to destroy multiple pillars at once, and it's possible to get hit by multiple pillars that are crumbling down. So positioning is key, but once the pillar is destroyed, it cannot be destroyed again, and those spots are treated as basic nodes. Naturally, if the party rests at a bonfire, the pillars get restored. The second mechanic that the Asylum Demon brings is the Wind-Up mechanic. The Wind-Up mechanic says if this icon appears on the monster's behavior card, you have an opportunity to spend 1 stamina and move 1 node before the rest of the attack is resolved. If you do so, great, you might have just avoided getting attacked. If you don't, then the attack would continue to resolve as normal. But this is a good way that the board game translates telegraphed attacks that the video game has. So that's what the Asylum Demon, Mini-Boss, and Stray Demon bring to the table. Now, if you're using him as a mini-boss, that's really all you need to know. And you can fight him to your heart's content. But if you want to fight the Stray Demon Mega Boss, you have to know how to add that into your playthrough. Because before you can fight a Mega Boss, you have to fight a new level 4 encounter. Level 4, you say? Yes, a level 4 encounter. These are new with every Mega Boss and are specific to every Mega Boss. After you defeat a main boss, you would naturally add their treasure cards to your inventory just like normal, as if you just beat a mini boss, and kind of reset in the same way that you do between mini boss and main boss. But when you go from main boss to Mega Boss, you remove all the tiles except for the bonfire tile. And then take this double-sided board and place it on the side that has these monster spawn icons and the purple terrain icons. You'd flip the board to this side and then put the bonfire beside the entryway. The bonfire sparks would reset back to its full, and now you need to draw an encounter card for this new tile. Each Mega Boss comes with 4 level 4 encounters. Draw 1 at random and then set it up like you would a normal encounter card. The only difference being that this tile is naturally a lot larger than the ones in the base game. and therefore will have a lot more monsters on the field, and traps if it happens to be so. It's also important to note that these level 4 encounters will have symbols to tell you which expansions you need in order to use them. Here we have 2 cards that require special expansions. The DS being the core set, the hammer being, I believe, the Old Iron Keep, the gravestone with sword is the Darkroot Basin, and then you have this one, which I don't remember all the names of all the expansions, but it's clearly they're thinking ahead. So if you happen to have the expansions required, you can use that encounter card. If you don't, then move on to the next one. You set up the encounter and treat it like the core set. If any players die, you reset back to the bonfire, lowering your sparks, resetting all your tokens, and resetting this entire board itself. But if you win, if you happen to kill all the monsters and not have any of your allies die, then you'll get 8 souls per character to go into your soul pool, which is great because 8 souls is how many you need to go from tier 2 to the final tier on each character's stat board. What's interesting is after you beat this level 4 encounter, you would flip it over to the other side of the board. Now, unless I'm wrong, you would never flip it back. So even if you fought the Mega Boss and then lost, you have to continue throwing yourself at the Mega Boss until you either win or run out of sparks, because you can't farm that level 4 encounter. You can go back to the blacksmith and the firekeeper and do whatever you can do with the remaining souls you have, but you can't go back to that level 4 encounter. And it's also important to note that after defeating the level 4 encounter, you don't get a free token reset. So if you want it, and if you need it, which you might, you're gonna have to spend that spark. Other than that, the Stray Demon is as you expect it. He's got a stat card with the new pillar mechanic, as I already mentioned. He's got his own behavior cards and his own heat up cards. And otherwise is a very standard boss. If you beat the Mega Boss, then you have completed a full run through of Dark Souls. Although the Mega Boss does have treasure cards, if you're doing a normal playthrough of Dark Souls, they are not needed because you've already beaten the game. But in each Mega Boss booklet here, it also has a recommended campaign path, which would allow players to recreate the Dark Souls experience, going from the Undead Asylum all the way to Anor Londo. So if you choose to give yourself that challenge, it is totally up to you, or create your own. The game does recommend creating your own campaigns and stringing along as many bosses you like for yourself. It's up to you. So lastly, let's take a look at these treasure cards that you get in this box. So first, let's look at the Asylum Demon. If you beat him, he gives you a big pilgrim key and says you may place this character on any entry node, not just entry nodes aligned with the tile you moved from. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility, and it is a new armor equipment upgrade. So don't know how useful that is, but the flexibility is given to you. And then the Demon's Great Hammer. 24 strength required. It is range 1, a 2-handed weapon, as you would expect it. For 1 stamina, you get to throw 2 blue. For 4 stamina, you get 2 orange. That's devastating. And it has 1 upgrade slot available for it. So, not too bad. If you want someone who's like a berserker, they could use that and deal a lot of damage. If you beat the Stray Demon, you get Titanite. It's a weapon upgrade that just gives +1 damage to an attack. Weird that it's here for the Stray Demon and not the Asylum Demon, but okay. And then a Homeward Bone. Interesting part here is that it has prerequisites, because a Homeward Bone in the video game does not require any prerequisites. You could just use it, it's an item. But it is a very helpful one in the board game version. And it says during your activation you may discard this card to end an encounter and return to the bonfire tile. So people can finally escape an encounter without losing their souls. That's useful, but again, is that really worth fighting and beating a mega boss who's supposed to be the end of a regular playthrough? Not really. This is definitely intended for a campaign run, and one where the Asylum Demon is pretty early. But that's just my opinion. But otherwise, that is the Asylum Demon Mega Boss expansion for Dark Souls the board game. I would say he's probably one of the easier bosses that you fight, but I haven't fought his Mega Boss version. But it is a good introduction into the Mega Boss lineup. The figure itself, of course, is beautifully sculpted, but I have to say he's not that much bigger than, say, Smough from the core set. He is bigger, just not that much bigger. He's on the same base size. And if you had the previous notion, like I did, that all Mega Bosses were going to be huge, then you might be a little bit disappointed with this one. But if you're a die-hard fan of Dark Souls 1 and you just want to collect as much Dark Souls content as you can, Asylum Demon is a great choice. It's a lot of fun, and I hope you've enjoyed this in-depth look at this expansion for Dark Souls the board game. We're going to try and cover as many expansions as we can so that you guys can really get a good taste for what's in each box and determine for yourself which ones you want to add to your collection. And that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.
No, it's not food. No, Smoopy, it's not food. Move along. Smoopy, no, it's not food. That's right.